Welcome to another episode of Can We Talk About Your WordPress Projects? Today, we're talking about helping your clients succeed with Google My Business with my friend and Google My Business expert. And if you don't believe me, you can listen to Michael Gabersky because he said the same thing. Tricia Clements has straightened out many a problem with Google My Business. It can be kind of kludgy if you don't know what you're doing. I met Tricia at a WordCamp somewhere in 2000 and either 18 or 19. When I first met Tricia, her business was focusing on dog-related websites and businesses and was helping them with their marketing and all of that sort of stuff because she is a huge dog lover. The name of that business was Mutt Butts, right? Mm-hmm. But it had two T's.
MUTTBUTS. They might be mutts, but they're 100% love. That was my business. And I did help a lot of pet businesses. That was my primary client, were pet businesses, dog sitters, grooming facilities, dog daycare, things like that.
Right.
I still do work for those type of businesses, but it's not my primary focus.
Right. And then you switched, you did a pivot, and now the name of your business is, I always get this wrong, Your Biz WatchDog. Not Biz WatchDog, but it's Your Biz WatchDog. So she was able to maintain that dog-related theme and move into something completely different. So why don't you tell us about your background, who you are, and how you came about making the decision to make that pivot, and then we'll move on to the Google My Business stuff.
Okay, sure. So again, I'm Tricia Clements with yourbizwatchdog.com. And when I first got involved in WordPress, I think it was like 2012, I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I love the WordPress community so much. And as Beth said, I'm a huge pet lover, and I'm hoping that Moxie stays quiet and you don't hear her barking in the background. Okay, good. I'll tell her she gets a pass. So a lot of my focus originally started out with pet businesses, and social media was the focus of a lot of what I did, social media management. I did notice over time how much more Google My Business was becoming more and more important. From there, I would look at my clients and I'd see that some of them didn't even have access to their account, had no clue it was there. I saw that that was something I really needed to focus on more. I was looking more at something as far as their business's overall presence online and making sure they're getting found on Google. That's how that part started, and how I switched to Google My Business. It was a gradual thing. Over a year ago, I kept having quite a few people say I'm focusing more towards Google My Business and overall optimization for helping businesses get found online. Have I ever thought about rebranding? And I was like, I've thought about it. I just put it off. About November of 2019, I thought I'm going to probably do it soon, but I still was putting it off. It was interesting that it didn't have anything to do with COVID, but that just happened to be the time where I said, let's do it. Around March of last year is when I rebranded to Your Biz WatchDog. Finally, earlier this year, launched my website, which you can see the biggest focus is Google My Business on that.
Excellent. Why exactly did you decide to focus to niche down to just Google My Business and citation management? Before we go any further, though, explain citation management, because a lot of people don't understand what that means.
Sure. Citation management. So citations are basically online directories for your business. And that may be something you're aware of, or something you're not. It's basically a place online that has your name, address, phone number, usually your website nowadays. So NAPW, those would be your citations. And that could be anything you're aware of. Your Facebook is a citation. Google My Business is a citation. It could be some other site you've never heard of that pulls things from other places online and pulls your information in and posts it. So one of the main things about citation management is a lot of people aren't aware of what their business even looks like, and that's your online presence. So think about if someone's searching for your business and they find several different links and you have different websites listed, different phone numbers listed, they're going to get confused.
Let me stop and ask you. So another example of a citation would be these blogs or companies that just aggregate information, right?
Yeah.
Like a website or a blog or something like all the web designers in Greensboro, right?
Sure.
Greensboro web designers. Then you would be on that citation, but you might not even know it.
Exactly. Yes.
Right.
There are places that I'm trying to think of, some like yellowpages.com. That's a citation. There's a whole bunch of them online. What I first do is run a report to see what information looks like about your company online. Let's say you have a physical location and you moved 10 years ago. Well, some places may still have your old address on there. That may get people confused when they're searching for your business. It's good to have that information. That's kind of the first step of looking at your reputation online. What does your overall image look like? But that's, the one little starting point. Now, I'll say citations are not at all what they used to be. It used to be that citations, you really focused on them and you would get hundreds and hundreds of citations. You can sign up to have your information sent to different citation companies. Now that's not really something that's going to help your business. Now it's more quality over quantity, but then also checking and seeing, is the information correct? So making sure what's out there is correct and making sure you have the quality, the top ones, Google, Facebook, Yelp, Apple Maps, things like that, that you've got those filled out.
So you decided to niche down to Google My Business and that type of work because
Well, I found that I saw it was having an impact, and I saw that businesses had been ignoring it, and I enjoy working with it, because I will tell you, Google My Business is not the easiest platform to work on. You get in there, you start looking at things, and Google says, well, fill in your business name, and people are like, well, how hard can that be? But you'd be surprised how many get it wrong and get their account suspended. So that's something I work with, as far as going in, making sure the account's set up properly. I had someone just last week that I helped her set up her Google My Business, because she'd worked with someone else who couldn't even get it live on the map because they didn't understand Google guidelines. They were just going about it all in the wrong way.
for a period of time, I was considering focusing part of my business on reputation management, like the coffee shop that has the little thing that makes you sign in when you get there before you can get on their Wi-Fi, which gets you on their email list. Then you ask for reviews and whether you can ask for them, how to ask for them the right way, and all of that. I just got completely overwhelmed with the whole gamut of it. But if I decided I need to help my client with Google My Business, now I know we were talking before we went live, when you analyze a client's site, that's part of their first month's payment. And you do this massive 20-page report that reports on everything. But if I'm getting ready to go say, hey, local business, I can help you with this. Here's what your issues are. Here's where I can help. What would be the main things that you need to analyze about Google My Business? What do I need to look at for my site? And what does my local bakery need to look at?
Sure. The first thing is to make sure they've completed all the information they can. And that's just going in your dashboard, making sure everything's filled out. The other thing is Google My Business, as far as your ranking, when people are searching on Google, a lot of the ranking factors for your Google My Business, they're set. They're things like, where's your business located? Where's the searcher who's searching for a business like yours located? There aren't a lot of things that you can do something about. It's the conversion factors for Google My Business. What in your Google My Business converts those searchers to customers? Some of the big things are reviews. Reviews are huge. You've got to have a review strategy in place for your clients. That's really, really big. The other thing is making sure you've got the Google posts. They're doing lots of different things with those. I work with my clients with the Google posts, the Q&A. And
just a minute, what is a Google post?
Google post is different. Don't think of it like a Facebook or tweet or anything like that post, but you have an image you include, you have text, and then you can either have a link or a call now button. Those are things that you can use to promote business services, products. They aren't like other social media posts. People can't respond to you. You post it, they read it, and either click the button or don't.
But it's kind of an update as to what's going on in your business, maybe right now, or
definitely.
I had no idea you could post directly to Google My Business. See how what an idiot I am here? I don't know any of.
No, and that's the thing, is there's so much in all of the online marketing. It's hard for businesses to keep up with. Since COVID began over a year ago, Google has added so many different features. It's hard to keep up with everything that goes on. I'm in things every week checking to see what's the newest thing. this Friday, I think it was, I noticed something new. So I'm tweeting out about it. Am I just now seeing it? Or is this one that's been there and I haven't seen it? I went ahead for a client and I posted something on it to see what would happen. Everybody like, oh, this is new. This is new. We haven't seen this before. Just staying active and seeing what's new, what can be done. So yeah, the posts that can impact your conversion
Wow.
rate. So yeah.
Okay.
And then Q&A, there's a whole section in Q&A that needs to be watched. I always seed information in for my clients, seed Q&A in, but those are questions anyone can ask on Google about your business. There are also things that anyone can answer. Let's say you have a restaurant and I go on, I'm just out looking for a place and I'm like, okay, I want to go to this restaurant. Well, let me ask a question. Do they have valet parking? Beth could go on there, no relation to the business, and say, no, they don't have it. The restaurant needs to keep up with that, because what if they do? What if it's something new? The restaurant needs to respond, because it could have wrong answers on your profile.
Anybody can ask a question and anybody can answer the question.
Absolutely.
Well, geez, you got to stay on top of that, don't you?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so what I heard you say was make sure everything's filled out correctly. The Google posts, which can be images, text, and anything you really want it to be, and Q&A.
Then there's another one I haven't gotten to yet. The next one is spam fighting. They're Google guidelines. And there are businesses that violate the guidelines and get in there and Google doesn't catch them. One of the big things are your business name. So I'm Your Biz WatchDog. I'm in Marietta, Georgia. Let's say I do some SEO. I want to focus on that. For example, instead of having Your Biz WatchDog, I went into Google and put Your Biz WatchDog SEO in Marietta, Georgia. That's not my business name. The SEO would be keyword stuffing and the Marietta is location stuffing. There are businesses that do that. Some do it and don't understand it's wrong. Some do it knowing it's wrong, and doing it will help boost you in the rankings. You have to look and say, do I have anyone in the rankings that are above me or close to me and have that spam? If so, I need to notify Google so Google will remove that spam. If you're abiding by the guidelines, then you shouldn't have someone above you that's not abiding by the guidelines. The other thing is, just because Google hasn't caught them, even if someone doesn't report it, doesn't mean they're not going to get caught. Google has these sweeps they do. They may notice one specific thing in one area that's having problems going against the guidelines. They'll go through and everyone with that type of anything on their account will suspend a bunch of accounts. So just because you do it and you don't get caught now doesn't mean you're fine. It means Google just hasn't caught you or someone hasn't reported it. So,
okay, we have one person who shall be known as Facebook user because they did not give StreamYard permission to let me see their
sure.
What kind of pricing do you charge for this? And just, you don't only have to divulge as much as you feel comfortable with.
Sure, that's okay. You can go to yourbizwatchdog.com. I have Google My Business services there. I also do services for agencies. So I'm not sure if you're an end user or agency, if you've got clients you want to use it for, but I have different levels. Some start out with just the getting reviews. That is, hopefully I'm getting this right, $250 a month. Then I have doing the management, which doesn't include reviews. This is separate, is $375 a month. I combine them. I can't remember my price for that.
That's kind of, Tricia, that you don't even remember what your prices are.
I know. Let me see what I have on here. Yeah, 600. That's what I thought. I was about to say 650, so it's 600.
So yes. Before we move on,
and I do want, yes.
Did you want to say something else about that?
Yeah, I wanted to mention something about the spam fighting. I see where Michael, that is also about getting rid of lead gen sites. Yes, absolutely. Google, as far as abiding by their guidelines, you have to be an actual business, not a lead gen place, which is basically setting up a business to sell leads. There might be a local Marietta plumber, the Marietta plumber, and have a website. They just pull in leads and sell those to all the local plumbers in Marietta. That's a lead gen site. That's not actually a plumbing business. Those are not allowed. That's something else we check for as well.
Like Angie's List trying to have a Google My Business listing.
Correct. A business like that that sells leads, and it specifically doesn't say it because a lot of people know Angie's List is that's what they are, but there are businesses. You go on to Google My Business, sign up, and somebody calls you. You have no idea it's a lead gen place.
So I wanted to ask you,
Yes.
when you're talking about Q&A, this Facebook user says they copied and pasted their frequently asked questions from their business profile. Is that acceptable?
I think she's saying that she has a Q&A on her website of frequently asked questions. A lot of people have that on their website. What you do is go into your Google My Business, ask and answer the question. Yes.
Oh, okay. Perfect.
Yeah, those definitely have to be watched. There are some, probably ones that are doing things wrong, don't like it. Sometimes people are like, oh, I don't like doing spam fighting. But if I'm working for my client, they shouldn't have people above them getting more business when they're not following. In the last year or so, sometimes Google can be finicky. You go in and change your business name, you could get your account suspended. When I did my rebranding, I had my account listed as Mutt Butts. When I changed the business name, it was a complete change, but it still could have caused it to get suspended because it was a completely different business name. Sometimes you do things the right way and you get your account suspended like that. I didn't get it suspended. It was just luck. Sometimes you do things that are correct and something flags the system. You have to go in and work with Google and get it fixed.
If your Google My Business listing is suspended, we'll come back to that. And I didn't tell you I was going to ask you this question because it just occurred to me. All right, for those who don't know, when you search on something, especially when it's a local business and you get those 3 listings with maps next to each one, they call that the Google 3-pack.
3-pack.
The 3-pack. Is it possible to show up in the Google 3-pack if you don't have a Google My Business listing, or if your Google My, well, answer that one first.
I think you're talking about the 3-pack with the map. Those are Google listings. If you don't have a Google listing, you're not going to show up in there.
Thing is crappy.
It depends on how competitive the industry is. So if there's not much competition, there's only 3 of you in the industry, you may show up, but are you going to get selected? Probably not. But yeah, you need the 3-pack. One thing that's interesting that Google we've seen recently is they might be changing to a 2-pack. I honestly think that's to put more ads in there. They're testing it. The way things work with Google is people see things, Google tests it. Could be in different areas of the country, or it could be in different categories. People will see things and say, what's this? Some see it and others won't. That's because Google's testing something. They may roll it out or they may not. It might be a gradual thing. When they typically roll things out, Google doesn't do everything all at once. It's usually done by location and category.
Right. We're still coming back to that question of what to do when your account gets suspended.
Yeah.
Before we get to that, I want to ask, what makes it difficult to manage a Google My Business listing for someone else? Because you kind of have to know what you're doing. You can really screw stuff up.
Yes. And while I'm on that subject, let me also mention, be very careful with your accounts. Google looks at what email address you're using for your account. Let's say you've got a business, you're managing your Google My Business. You also go and do Google Ads. You do something you don't even realize violates Google guidelines on ads. That could get your Google My Business account suspended. If you go into YouTube, Google owns YouTube. If you do something they don't like on YouTube, it could get your Google My Business account suspended. Those are things to really watch out for. And now I've talked around. I don't remember what your first question was.
But what are the rules that make it difficult
to manage? As far as managing someone else, I don't know there's really any rules that make it difficult. The one thing that when I talk to business owners is tell them, as a business owner, you've got to be the primary owner on the account. It's important because I've seen time and time again where someone will take over an account for someone, manage it, and they will become the primary owner. Then when they part ways for whatever reason, the business owner loses access to Google My Business. That's not what I do. I don't think that's ethical. There are times where it's accidentally done. There are times where it's done on purpose. If I have a client who doesn't have access to their Google My Business, and I have to work through gain access, those are times. I had 2 recently. I just set up their Google My Business. It's easier when I set it up myself, then I become a primary owner. When I go through my audit and say, okay, this is everything that's been done. Now I'm going to turn it over to you as the owner, and I will drop down to as manager.
But isn't that hard to do? Is it hard to add another owner and you demote yourself?
No.
Okay, well, things have gotten better. The last time I tried to mess with Google My Business, I couldn't figure out how to. I accidentally set my brother's up in my name. My brother's Google
Well,
My
that's
up in
not
my
hard
name.
to change. You go into your users. I always recommend looking at who's a user on your Google My Business. If they're people you don't recognize, get them off of there, because what if they run a Google ad, Google gets mad at them, you get your account suspended, you have no clue why.
Like a bunch of grade school children in school with all these rules we have to follow with Google.
Well, Google, what can you say?
They are the true big brother, I do believe.
Yeah, I think too, when they do that with the users, they figure if you're doing something on Google Ads and YouTube that they're not liking, you might be over on Google doing, who knows, Google My Business. Those are account level suspensions. The main thing is checking who's on your Google My Business.
So how do I get access to my clients' Google My Business listing? I have to get them to add me.
Yeah. What I typically do is they're either instructions I send them. Sometimes we'll send a video instruction of how to do that. I always tell them to add me as a manager for the account. Other than when I'm setting them up or they have a problem, those are the times I might go in originally as an owner. But most of the time, I pretty much say add me as a manager, unless they've got a really bad problem and we need to figure things out. Once that gets resolved, I will go back down to manager. But
That's
I haven't
great.
had to do that. Yeah.
So my client made a mistake and their Google My Business listing got suspended. That doesn't mean canceled. It just means
Correct.
suspended until you straighten out the problem, right?
Yes, if you get your account suspended, you need to start immediately working on figuring out the problem and getting it unsuspended, because you can't make updates to your account. You also can't respond to reviews. What if you get a negative review in that time? You can't respond to it. You need to
Google
make
tell you exactly what you did wrong.
No. They used to not tell you at all. I've heard recently they haven't in the past, because there's so many people out there just really trying to spam the system. They don't want to tell you why it got suspended, because then that tells the spammers, oh, we need to do this next time. We need to change how we're doing it. They didn't want to let the spammers know. I think they may tell you a little bit more now. Sometimes I can tell what the problem is. Okay, so Michael says they'll give you a primary reason. Yeah, I think that is true. They'll give you one reason, but before they didn't tell you anything. I haven't had one recently that has been suspended, so I haven't seen the ones with giving that reason there.
No. Okay, and we'll back to Bob's question in a minute.
Okay, let's see. I think you were asking a few other things. I've had some issues where clients have no idea how to get access to their account. I do work with clients. I have my GMB Fix It that I help clients. If they have problems with their Google My Business, they can come to me and say, this is my problem. Can you help me? I've done quite a bit of work with that. Sometimes it takes some time to get it figured out. Sometimes you have to get in there and work with it. I've had some lost access, several were permanently closed. I needed to get in and they didn't have access to it. I had one. This is someone who wasn't quite as technical. She tried to set up her business. It was a brand new business. She messed up. She said she messed up. She wasn't sure what she was doing. So then she made another account with another Gmail, and she got confused because she tried to do both. They suspended her. It was a big mess. I had one recently.
Were you able to fix that for her?
Yeah. I was able to help. She had something a little bit unusual. She was near a UPS store. You're not allowed to use a UPS store for your address.
Are you allowed to use the post office box at all, are you?
No. For example, me, I work out of my home. I'm what's called a service area business. I put my address in and hide it so no one sees a physical address. I'll put areas that I service as a service area business. But because she was close to a UPS store, Google kept thinking she was at that location. So they kept suspending. She got into a suspension loop. I would get her unsuspended and then bam, suspended like immediately after. From there, had to work with Google to get it unsuspended and get it to stick as far as being open. I had one where the business had several locations and they closed one. A year later, they reopened it. When they reopened it, no one knew who had access to the Google My Business. They had marked permanently closed on it. For a year, they were sitting there with permanently closed when they were actually in business. I helped them gain access and was able to open it. They had been on Google My Business permanently closed for over a year that they had actually been open, I was able to come in and open it in a day. That was time they really should have been open. So not all of them are that fast. I never know until I get into it.
What if a client has lost access to their own Google My Business listing? How can you help them? Can you get in?
I go through my process to see which way it takes me. My Google My Business fix it, GMB fix it. So.
Okay, Bob had a question. How hard is it to get rid of negative reviews? Let's talk about reviews in general.
Sure.
I think everybody knows reviews are important. You can't buy reviews.
Don't buy them.
And what are the other rules about what you can or cannot do when asking for a review? Then tell us how hard it is to get rid of a negative one.
For Google reviews, definitely don't review gate. If you're not familiar with what that is, when you set up your system and ask for reviews, some businesses will send an email out that says, how did you like our product? If they say it was great, they say, leave us a review. If they say, I didn't have such a good experience, they take them on another course that never asked to leave a review. No matter what their response is, you always have to include something to tell them you can leave a review. The wording doesn't have to be exact. It could be something, we're sorry you had a poor experience. We'd love to get back in touch with you. By the way, you can leave a review and follow up with them. But make sure you give them that link to leave the review. I remember I was at a trade show. Someone was there talking about their Google My Business. They were explaining it, and what they were explaining there said, so you won't get any negative reviews because we don't send them the request for it. I'm just, oh, come on. This is review gating. I don't know what that is. I was like, I can't believe you're selling this to people if you don't even know what review gating is. You're selling a system to get reviews. These were just salespeople. They had no clue what they were talking about. You have to be careful what you sign up for and what you do with Google My Business because you don't want to get your account in trouble. The other thing you cannot do, give out coupons, discounts, or tell them, leave us a review, we'll put you in a drawing. You can't do any of those. A lot of times it used to be, oh, leave us a review, get 10% off your next visit. You can't do that. If you're not caught by Google, you might be caught by the FTC, federal government. I can't remember, it was 2017 or 18. They went after a small subscription box company. They were somehow incentivizing reviews, whether it's money or otherwise. You can't incentivize. FTC went after this company and fined them $100,000. Not only is it Google, but it's also the government. They want them to be real business reviews. Negative reviews are pretty hard to get rid of. First things, is it an actual client? If it is, respond to the review and get a lot of positive reviews from other customers. There are a couple of things Google doesn't allow. The problem is proving it. Google doesn't allow employees to leave reviews. If somebody leaves a review that says, I'm a former employee and this place is horrible because XYZ, they say you could contact Google and ask to get removed. If it's just one review, I would probably not waste my time on it. Respond and be polite. Do not leave 10 paragraphs. Remember, people reading these reviews are your potential customers. Be polite. When you've seen things online where there's social media stuff, there has been an attack on a business. So say an employee does something, social media reports it, the business fires the employee, but the business still gets a gazillion negative reviews. Google you have to request they turn your reviews off while that's going on, and they will do that. As far as reporting, if you're getting a bunch of them, a lot of it really depends. That's one of the things now a lot of people are having a hard time with. These reviews, they're not valid and Google won't get rid of them. That is a problem, and there might be something you can do about it, but on some there isn't. If it's just
somebody that acts, but I've never really done business with them.
The problem is Google can't tell. Google says, we have no way, we can't take your word over there. We don't know which one to believe, so it's going to be there and you'll just have to respond. If it's just one or two here or there, focus on getting more good reviews. If you feel you are getting some kind of attack, that's the point. I would work on checking with Google and seeing about getting those removed.
Melanie had a question about a specific service. There's lots of them like that.
I am not familiar with, I can't specifically talk about that one. I do have a system where I set up with clients to get reviews. I do it by email. I set it up for the client. We get their emails however often the client wants to send them to us. If they leave a review, we get notified. If they don't leave a review, we set up the time frame and they'll get another request for a review. The main thing is make sure who you're working with. Because if you work with someone who does something you don't know, review gating, that's bad. A lot of businesses don't understand review gating is wrong. They have, oh, no negative reviews. All right. That's against Google's guidelines. If you get caught by Google, you could lose all of those reviews and then some. It's not worth it. Just set up the system right and request reviews.
We have a question, and I believe Michael Gabersky answered it, but I don't understand his answer.
Yes.
Let's start with the question. Paul asked, can we use real Google reviews and copy and paste them as a testimonial to a client website? Michael says you can display them on the site, but you can't use schema markup on third-party reviews. I don't know what that means.
Yes.
But however, you can mark up any first-party reviews, aka testimonials you receive directly from the client.
Sure. Basically, the question is, can we take Google reviews and show them on our website? So the answer is yes. There are different things you can use to display them. What Michael is talking about, the schema markup. Schema is something that when Google searches your site, it picks up the schema. Google knows more information about your site. One of the things are review schema. Sometimes you'll search and see a company has stars next to it. That's because they have review schema. A review schema, you can't enable it for third-party reviews off of your site. If you have Google reviews and you put them on your site, you can't tell Google schema, I've got these reviews to pick those up. Those have to be first party for the review schema, meaning you got them directly on your website. The first party means you asked on your website and it's showing right there on your site. The third party is a system like Google reviews, Yelp reviews, Facebook reviews. If you set review schema up, you can't do it if you're pulling and showing those Google. You only have to say, these are my first party reviews. You can't pull in and say, these are my reviews and have them be third party that you've shown on your site. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
On my website, if you go to like my services and GMB Fix It, I have scrolling at the bottom several different reviews from Google where people mention that service. Those are third-party reviews. I don't have schema markup placed on there because those are from Google, acquired directly on my website. That's something too your business has to decide as far as if you're going to get first-party reviews or solely focus on third-party. I can argue it either way. I typically focus on third-party because I like getting Google reviews, but you also want to not put all your eggs in one basket. Have other places you get reviews. The other thing with that is for your website, that's a place you own. That might be a reason to get them there. But then again, you don't want all of them there, none of them on Google, because again, reviews on Google are what helps you get found online and helps you come up in the rankings. I don't get first party reviews on my website. If you had a high number, just new clients, restaurants have tons and tons of new clients every day, it might be something to consider. If you don't have an influx all the time of new clients, you might want to focus on third party like Google. Depending on your business, I like Nextdoor as well.
Okay, I'm an agency. I'm trying to maybe beef up my offerings. I've decided I want to start offering some Google My Business services. What's the best way to approach an existing client? Maybe somebody I already have doing their website for. Tradesmen who say, I don't need a website. I've got Angie's List. I've got all I need. You could sell them Google My Business services, even if they are dead set against not having a website. So how would you approach those people about Google My Business? What would you?
Especially businesses like that, they might come and say 90% of my business is referral, so I don't need to do a lot of the other stuff. I'd like to argue is that your business might be referral mostly. However, the referrals that actually get to you probably Googled your name, your business before they called you. I do it all the time. I get a referral from a friend. I Google them before I call that business. Your online presence matters, and Google My Business is really at the top of the list as far as getting rankings and local SEO, local search. Google My Business makes up 33%. It was the biggest piece of the pie as far as local search online. So it definitely matters for local businesses. When I say local businesses, that focus on a local geographic area. whether it's a
Well,
restaurant, a lawn service, a plumber, all of those.
you said earlier, if somebody is managing Google My Business for their clients, or if your own Google My Business is all messed up and they need help, you could even refer your clients to Tricia. A lot of times that gives you a lot of credibility. Look, I don't know how to do this, or this is not a service I offer, but you really have to beef this listing up. I have somebody I can refer you to. We know we can get in touch with you at yourbizwatchdog.com, and all your services are listed. How else can people get in touch with you?
All my information is there. You can email me. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Your Biz WatchDog, LinkedIn.
So you're everywhere.
Yeah, I try to be all over the place. I do work with agencies, white label services. If you want to offer this to your clients, but you don't want to do the work, but you want to offer it to them, I work with agencies. And if you want to just simply send them to me, you can do that as well.
Oh, okay. I didn't know you offered the white label stuff. That's
Oh,
great.
absolutely. Also, the Google My Business Fix It. I can do that for your clients as white label, or if you just want to refer them, it's pretty much up to you as far as how you want to do that.
Okay, we're here at the end of our session today. Tricia, thank you so much for coming on.
All right.
I got a lot out of it, and I'm certain other folks did too. As a reminder, guys, the series of lives we do every Monday at 3:00 is sponsored by the WP Project Managers Academy, the only place on the web you can learn to consistently get your WordPress projects completed on time, within budget, with features that meet the client's business requirements. Tricia, you hang on. We're going to sign off here in just a second. To everyone watching on Friday, we're going to talk about this again. You said you could come on Friday, right?
I'll be here Friday. Yeah.
On Friday, if you've got questions that weren't answered today, or you think of questions in the meantime, between now and Friday at 11 o'clock every Friday morning, we have our Friday chat. Tricia's going to come back on. We're going to chat about anything, but our main topic will be Google My Business for people who have questions or just want to talk about it. Until I see you guys on Friday, stay productive, stay strong, and never stop learning. And thanks for signing in today. See you guys
Thanks,
later.
everyone. Thanks, Beth. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.